So, want to get some stuff about Newcastle, specifically that game. It's the game, of course, coming back after the international break at home, Stamford Bridge. A chance to make it, 5 wins in a row now?
Mad.
Yeah, so it's an interesting game because Newcastle are coming off the back of that victory against Manchester United. And it's weird with Newcastle because they are quite an unpredictable side, because a week before they get hammered by Leicester, and I think most predicting them probably still to go down, and of course there's loads of problems at Manchester United, so you have to put that into context as well. But I'm sure they'll be coming into it with some sort of, momentum and confidence after that victory, especially the two Longstaffs scoring and two Longstaffs, one of them scoring and both featuring, so there's going to be some excitement from their fans, and I'm sure in that squad with that. Just your impression, because there always is that fear after an international break, the first game after the international break, that there's a bit of a lull and there's a bit of a sort of the freshness sometimes can be off. I've seen Chelsea teams before coming off an international break and we don't get going for about 45 minutes. How do you think we can counteract that, and also just your feelings about the game and the opposition?
Well, first of all, it's going to be interesting to see who's available. Now, like I said, we have a lot of injuries. Christensen seemed to have picked up a knock as well. Kovacic, as we said. Kante wasn't used in the second game by Deschamps, thank God, but he was used in the first, and I don't think he should have even went. Russian players back is something that we are guilty over now. Even international managers seem to be guilty of. We really do need to get a better communication there. I feel like that happened because Kante was left out of the front squad for the last international break. He was given that rest, and we had that kind of deal, and I was praising Deschamps for it. I sent out a tweet for that, and then obviously now I feel like it was kind of like a tat for tat. Well, we didn't bring him last time, so we got to bring him this time, right? And then lo and behold, he gets injured again. So I think it's going to be crucial to see who recovers. There's a lot of, again, 50-50. There's a lot of reports saying that these aren't huge injuries. These are just minor ones that could be fit for Newcastle. And the issue with could-be's is that if they do play against Newcastle, they can pick up injuries in the first 15 minutes, just like Emerson did. Or they could be completely fine. So it all starts with the lineup for me. And if they're not available, then there's going to be a few players that come in. I think the blessing in disguises for this game is that I'm quite confident because certain players are in form. Alonso's looking solid. And I said it from the get-go. I was happy that he was playing well at left wing back, but I wasn't getting ahead of steam because I know he can play well at left wing back with the cover of Tomori against Liverpool, etc., etc. I wanted us to revert back to a 4-3-3 and for him to do well, and he did that against Southampton. He was solid again, but this time at left back, and that's what you want to see. Because that's our strongest formation, and if you're going to be a part of the team, you need to be a part of our strongest formation. So, lo and behold, I'm hoping that his form continues. Willian is looking like a different animal under Frank. For me, Willian can have these purple patches. It's all about consistency, so I'm hoping he can continue that. I think the key for us is if we get off to a good start. That's always the key, right? If we can shut them up first 10 minutes. We know the away fans are going to be loud going to the game. Are you going to the game?
Yep.
Yeah? Yeah, so we know what Newcastle fans are like, right? They're going to be loud as hell. The bridge atmosphere is, it's not always the best. Depends where you're sitting, of course, but sometimes we're a bit reactionary with the chanting. We have to be, entertained before we start chanting. We're secondary in that sense. And Newcastle fans certainly won't be. So we've got to shut them up and get on the front foot early. And I think if we can do that, I think we'll be fine. I'm looking forward to the game, definitely.
Yeah, it will be interesting, and I think that just in terms of some of the players that could be returning, the likes of Rudiger, Emerson, potentially, and I guess the intriguing part for those two players who you expect are first team players, especially Rudiger, I think, and Emerson's made himself the first choice left back, but of course you've got Alonso's form. I'm sort of curious if either of those players are available, do they slot into the team? But then I'm thinking as well, the amount of games, we've got 7 games to play over a couple of weeks here before the next international break, and with the squad and rotation, we've got Newcastle on a Saturday, but then we travel to Ajax for I think the Wednesday or the Tuesday game. That's not the worst travel in the world. You could have much worse away days in Europe. Of course, it's not the worst to Amsterdam, but at the same time, it's about that rotation, and of course we've got the League Cup as well bundled within that.
United, that's a must win for me. Must win.
Yeah, well, especially if looking at their form and looking at the first game of the season, my hope is within the squad and within Lampard, there's a hope that, or at least a motivation to prove that 4-0 wasn't a fair reflection of the scoreline in the first game, that we will be proven right on that was just a case where they were really good on the break, we were unlucky with some of our chances. That would be intriguing to see who starts that game. But yeah, I guess just your opinion on sort of the starting lineup, formation. Do we stick with a 4-3-3? There's been about 3 formations used. Sometimes I get confused myself in games whether it's a 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1. What is your preferred formation? The players maybe you want to see come in for the game.
Yeah, it's fun. Whenever the lineup goes out, there's this fun little guessing game we have on Twitter. What formation are we playing? Who's been left out? You know, everyone goes crazy. It's become this game, to be honest, because there's always some sort of surprise in the lineup. For me, you know, it's hard to even think who's even available. But for me, Tammy has to start up front. That's for sure. He's in great form, and even when he's missed a few chances and whatnot. The thing I love about him, and that I clearly underestimated, because even though I knew he had a good mentality, because when John Terry compliments you from last season about your mentality, you know it must be some sort of strong mentality, right? But my question at the start of the season was, is he going to be able to rebound from big, pitfalls? Is he good? Because every number 9 at Stamford Bridge has had them. Falcao, Pato, do you know what I mean? Morata. Every striker's had that moment at the bridge where it's like make or break. Even Lukaku missing that penalty against Bayern. And Abraham had that moment. You know, he's had that moment against Liverpool where he's missed the penalty and then he's been racially abused. And I was like, this is where everyone talks about mentality. I was like, this is where you're going to see this boy's mentality. This is it. Like that could have made or break him, in my opinion, because that's way worse than Lukaku's faced against Bayern when he missed his penalty and he was out the door immediately. He's been amazing, man. I mean, Abraham is one of those players where, out of all the players that at the start of the season I expected things from and then have produced, he's been the biggest gap. When he got recalled from Villa, and I seen the transfer ban, I said, you know, we should keep him, of course. I think we needed 3 strikers because, you know, past seasons we've had 2, and I've always been a fan of having 3, even if we're playing 1 up front, because I think you need that competition, and if you get 1 injury, you're not completely screwed. And I thought Abraham's going to be of around the same level as the rest of the guys, and I think they'll all rotate and no one will really be prolific, and, you know, we'll get through the season with just patches of form from all of them. And Abraham's been amazing. It's from his build-up play, you know, dropping off and laying things off, cute little touches. He's had great flicks, you know, presence in the box. At last, we have someone who's a poacher who's ready to be in the box for chances, taking all the scraps. You know, he's imposing, he's quick. He's got everything. And you know, in terms of the biggest leap from player expectations, he's been the guy. So he has to continue to start. And I don't agree with, you know, chopping and changing up front just because Batshuayi's got an odd goal here or Giroud's, you know, wants some minutes. For me, if you have a striker in form, you keep them up front. Tottenham did it with Harry Kane, and I think we have to do the same with Tammy Abraham. And then, you know, I think HUDSON-ODOI and Willian, they have to start. You know, Willian is in incredible form. Everyone knows my thoughts on Willian. You know, he's not my cup of tea. Mainly because of his consistency, and his attitude is questionable sometimes. But under Frank, he's been running himself into the ground. I remember that game at home to Leicester, he was, you know, walking around, and I was like, this ain't going to cut it. You know, he's come off the bench here and he's walking around. But since then, he's run himself into the ground. Against Southampton, he's probably man the match, you know. He's looked dangerous. End product has been improved, and he's, you know, no matter what you say about that guy, he's been loyal to the club. He seems to really do love this club, so you got to give credit to him where it's due. He's picked up his form, and if he can just continue that, I'm not one of these people that will be saying make him captain or keep him next summer, because I do still see resale value in him next summer to improve in the position. But if he can keep that form going, for me, he starts as well with HUDSON-ODOI, and then you can't drop Mount either in the form he's in. So Kovacic or Kante. Really, it's a toss between if Kante's fit, and if he's not 100% fit, which I don't think he will be, then you put Kovacic in. I don't think there's any point taking any risks. I think in a home game against a low block, Kovacic is perfect. You know, Kante can do it as well, but I think Kovacic has no problem with a Mason Mount, Kovacic, Jorginho midfield against a Newcastle team. And then the back four, you're looking at Alonso. I wouldn't rush back Emerson or Rudiger for the same reasons. So then you're looking at who's even available. Tomori, Christensen seems to have a knock. So I guess Zuma comes in. And Zuma is another player. I think he's taken a lot of slack recently where for me, from the games I've gone to, he's improved. You know, he's had a lot of sloppy mistakes against Manchester United and giving the ball away and offside traps, not sticking to them. He has improved. He hasn't made any mistakes recently from what I've seen. So I think credit where it goes to him. A lot of people, you know, give him a hard time because, you know, he's not the most, you know, ball-playing centre-back. But at the end of the day, he's tidied up. And if he doesn't give it away, for me, he doesn't need to break lines with passing in a back four. It's only a back three where I need all my centre-backs to, you know, break the lines with their passing, come out with the ball, really be that third midfielder. In a back four, just play it simple. If you can't handle the complicated David Luiz balls, that's fine. You know, just play it simple and keep the ball. We have other players for that. And then it's a toss between Reece James and Azpilicueta. It's tough because I want to see Reece James so much because technically the boy is on another level. That's just fair to say. You know, outside the right boot, he can cross, delivery in every sense, his stature. The boy is a complete, you know, colossus. I think he's going to be amazing once he gets into consistent form. But Azpilicueta has stepped up. He has stepped up. So I don't mind who starts in that position. I'm not going to complain either way. He's captain at the end of the day, Azpilicueta, so I don't expect him not to play. So, and then it's Kepa in goal. So yeah, that would be my team. I'm sure Barkley will probably make his way in there with injuries as well. He could make his way in there. He had a good game against England, for England. In hostile atmospheres, as we spoke about earlier, he really did step up, as he does for England, against weaker opposition. But my issue with Barkley is in the Premier League, he doesn't do it. Against Brighton, he was poor. I went to the game and he was playing in a double pivot for Kovacic, and to be honest, I've never seen such a disjointed first half from him. He was giving the ball away, no awareness. You know, he was very disjointed, and every time he picked up the ball, he was then thinking. And for me, if you're going to play with your back to goal, receiving the ball under pressure, you need to have the picture around you already, and he didn't have it multiple times. You know, the crowd kind of have to tell him a man's on. You don't tell Jorginho that. So for me, Barkley at this level is questionable. It's not something that I would be, you know, buzzing to see. I'd much prefer to see a lot of other players. I think for me, he's not a Premier League player anymore. I think that yard that he's lost, either mentally or physically from injuries, I think he's a player suited to an Italy or a Spain where you have more time on the ball. But again, if he plays, I guess it will be credit to his England performance, which, you know, as we're used to seeing. And again, any player that I'm not particularly impressed with or don't rate highly, I don't really care, you know, on my opinion after. If they play well, I'm happy. You know what I mean? I'm not one of these people that carry their player opinions into the game. I will admit, I judge the senior players to a higher standard because they should be in their peak. They should be the one carrying the youngsters, and it is the other way around. And that's not normal to me. That's not what I've grown up seeing. I'm used to seeing senior players in their peak carry the youngsters, not really the other way around where our youngsters are the standouts. So I'm very strong on senior players, especially ones that have been in the club for a while, to step up. And if they don't step up, I say they don't step up. So, but I'm hoping that we can get a good team out there and just win the game, because at this point it's just about 3 points.
Yeah, I think another win would be brilliant, and considering form of other teams in and around the area of the table we're in, it's important to get those wins. And just to, you know, I think the Brighton game was brilliant because it was just a bog standard 2-0. I've never been so satisfied with just your standard 2-0 that you probably forget in like 3 weeks' time. You know, I feel similar with Newcastle. You know, stifling them. I think they're probably going to do what they've done at Tottenham, what they did against Manchester United. You know, they scored early against Liverpool and could have looked like they could have done something in that game. So you can't take them lightly. Yeah. As you've expressed, they do step up in these games. And it's about Chelsea being energetic, pressing well, moving the ball fast, having players who aren't like half asleep, because those are games where, you know, but we've seen it so often. Those are games where that's drift, and if they drift, you get yourself in trouble in the Premier League. So that's the important thing. I mean, against Brighton, we had a lot of chances in that first half, and the good thing was we continued our good form and got the goal. It wasn't like, I'd never felt against Brighton the game was drifting in that first half. It was just we had some poor finishing. You felt like the goal was going to come if we kept playing that well. So it's going to be exciting. I'm not a massive fan of score predictions, but I guess let's go over the generic one anyway. What sort of your score prediction for the game, and who do you think can make a real impact in this game for Chelsea?
I'm gonna go with 2-0, same as Brighton. Like you said, you said it perfectly. I do see a similar type of game. I see a different style of play from Newcastle, perhaps, but I do see a similar type of game in how they try and nullify us. And I would love nothing more than a boring Jose Mourinho 2-0. Do you know what I mean? I think some results like that are they're due. We've had our excitement now. Our Wolves, our Southampton, Norwich. Just so many games of just entertainment up and down, and I would love to see all sides of the story. I'd love to see us really just dig in and take a 2-0 win. It's something that you need in a squad, and it's something that, when I compare this to Liverpool under Klopp in his first year, you can see the difference in Liverpool now is as they go for a title bid, is they can now nullify and just get your 2-0 wins. They don't always go gung ho, and I think that's crucial to any side to be able to do both. And I think if we can get into the hang of it and play both sides of the coin, then that's perfect. So I'd go for a 2-0. And I think, I have a sneaky feeling that Alonso is going to get a goal. And that's crazy coming from me, but I really do. I think, to be fair to him again, he has improved his end products in that Southampton game. He was really picking out passes. That's always been my issue with Alonso. Everyone, when they speak about his attacking output, his crossing percentage last year was so poor for accuracy, and it's because whenever he seems to get the ball, it seems to just be drilled across. It's not really any, vision or looking out for someone. It's just hit. And against Southampton, he was really picking out people, and I was really happy to see that. I think I don't know if he picked out Jorginho before he hit the post, or someone around the edge of the area. Anyway, he picked out, probably not Jorginho, but he's looking for people now, and that's something that I've loved to see in Reece James. He's been picking out people, so I think he could be a one for a goal. And then I think Tammy as well. I think Tammy's in crazy form, and I think even though he's scoring all of his goals in the away kit, I think this is the home kit now. It's time for a goal, another goal at the Bridge from him. So yeah, I think those will be my goal scorers.
Yeah, lovely to see Tammy scoring. That would get him to 10 goals in all competitions, so it'd get him to double figures, which would be an amazing output. I think my preseason prediction was 15, and that was before the first game, and people were saying you're mental. And now, actually, that looks like if he was to finish the season with that, it'd be, maybe we were a little bit too conservative with that prediction. I still think 15, like I've seen some people saying, he'd be disappointed if he got 15. I'd still be very happy with 15, because maybe not with his standards. Or
in all competitions.
I think it's about development, and I don't want to sort of go overboard with young players, because it's with Chelsea, this winter period that for the last 2 seasons I've seen us, it's more like post-Christmas. For the last 2 seasons I've watched Chelsea have quite encouraging first half to the seasons, get sort of torpedoed by March because we lose form after Christmas. And my hope is with this squad that isn't the case, and we don't have such a tragic January and February that sort of dismantles and really takes us back. So, and especially with just maybe injuries, a lack of form, just something could change with Tammy. But if Tammy keeps scoring goals, absolutely that 20 goal mark, which was the standard for Diego a couple of seasons ago, is absolutely within his reach, and be an incredible output for him. But yeah, thank you for coming on, Matisse. Let me know your thoughts on the game in the comments below. Subscribe if you are new, hit that notification bell, follow me on Twitter, and I'll see you again.